Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show, episode 98 today. It's Friday, November 20th, the week before Thanksgiving. So thanks for joining us. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim. Tim, say hi.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
So we took a couple of week break because I feel like we've just been overwhelmed with reviews lately. And there's been some other stuff going on. Like I had massive construction around my house that just doesn't allow us to do this. But anyways, like I feel like we've reviewed so many phones lately that we just kind of needed to not like unplug, but kind of. So, anyways, we're back and we're going to talk about a lot of those reviews that we've done. We've also sort of discussed this week the Android phone we think is the number one buy today. Same thing with Android Watch if you want one. And then we've got some other devices around, like this ridiculously overpriced Tag Watch. Tim has a OnePlus X, Galaxy View. Ron has the Blackberry Priv. Like, not only were we overwhelmed by all the reviews we had to do, but there's like 10 other devices out there we could still be reviewing that we're slowly working on. So, anyways, and then we've got some carrier talk. Sprint, T-Mobile both announced a bunch of new stuff. Yeah, there's just kind of a lot. So we're going to whip through a whole bunch of topics today. We're going to start first, though, with the two big stories we've run this week, which are best Android phone you can buy today and best Android watch you can buy today. So if we start with phone, we kind of just said the best phone you can buy right now, and you guys probably know this after reading Tim's review of it, but is the Nexus 6P. It's Google's it's obviously their flagship of the two they introduced this year, but there's just not a lot wrong with the phone. Maybe other than the really tall body, because they did the dual speaker and it's got some head and or chin and forehead going on. Otherwise, it's a great phone. Google finally put a good camera in it. Obviously, the performance is fine because it's Snapdragon 820 and Google's fine-tuned it. It has a premium build, has great battery life, great fingerprint sensor, like a really good display. It's not the best display ever. Like Samsung's probably always going to win that battle. It's got a great display. The price is good, $500 for this phone when, you know, comparable phones from other manufacturers are $600-700. I don't know. I mean, you sort of felt the same way, right? 6P's phone you should buy right now if you need an Android phone.
I felt the exact same way. I think I said it in my review and sort of the verdict part where I was like, I mean, this is phone of the year contender. It hits a good price point. It definitely has all the features that an Android user would want. It has that kind of future proof that we're looking for with the NFC and the fingerprint. And so, you can definitely utilize the mobile payments that will be coming heavily, I think, next year and the years following. But a great camera, which is where all the other Nexes before it, I mean, totally failed, at least in my opinion. I did not want to use the Nexus 5, although I did, because it was a nice little phone, but the camera was just not very good. I didn't use the Nexus 6 because it was just too large. And so I really think the 6P is like the perfect middle ground of just everything that we want, like the top tier Android specs and a great build quality. It's a good looking phone. It grows on you. And
yeah, I didn't even mention that it's a pretty nice looking phone. We were all a little worried. I think we saw some of the leaks with whether or not it was going to have a big hump and what's with that weird black bar at the top. But
yeah, and someone commented that it does not have wireless charging, which is true. But at the same time, I find that thanks to the rapid charging through the USB Type-C port, that you just don't need to charge it, as much. I mean, sure, it'd be cool to just set it down and charge it throughout the day, but it's just not really necessary when you can charge it in for a half hour and get plenty of battery life. And I think the battery life is pretty good, and you can just have it for the whole day and not run out. So, I mean, I got like a solid day out of it each day. So,
yeah, I mean, my battery issues with all phones are well documented. This phone, like every night, like 8 o'clock is usually when I'm looking for chargers with phones. And this phone, I must have my Dropbox auto upload set to turn off at like 30% because for like 2 days it kept telling me turning off, you need to charge kind of thing. And I was like, wow, this phone's almost dead. And then I kept going to plug it in and I was like, well, it still has 30%, which is pretty good still. So yeah, for me, this is one of those phones that seems to last a really long time.
Yeah, apparently there's a few people out there that have been snapping the phone in half.
Oh my God.
And I know it's silly to talk about, but just for my everyday usage, without attempting to physically snap the phone in two, I was not able to. Like, I did not come across this problem. I
I
also,
tried to like
you tried it?
emulate. No, I just tried to sort of emulate the hand positioning of the guy you're talking. I forgot what his name is. Jerry Rig something. Jerry
Jerry
Rig
rig everything.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tried to emulate like his motion and everything, and I didn't put a lot of pressure, but like I'm not gonna lie, I thought I could feel it like wanting to give way, and I was just like, I'm not doing this because I'm never gonna put it in sort of that pressure where I might bend it other than doing his method, and so I
Right.
quit. But
You're
otherwise, like,
also, yeah, sorry, you're also not a bodybuilder like Jerry Rig everything is. Apparently this guy
it's
is
true.
is like a champion bodybuilder, and he could
He's
just snap a
Bane.
human with his hands.
Yeah.
So, I mean, congrats to him, but like I don't think I'm strong enough to do it. And I'm cool with saying that. I don't spend nearly enough time in the gym.
Need to hit them weights.
I'm
Yeah,
trying.
I don't. I'm not worried about this phone bending. I mean, like I said, I'm not going to put it in a position where it's going to. I don't put it in my back pocket, so I'm not sitting on this thing.
Right.
I'm certainly not. Yeah, just going to manually out of nowhere just see if it bends. I just don't do that with anything. So yeah, I think it's going to be just fine.
Yeah, I also saw, and then after that, the reports of the glass back breaking where the camera is.
Oh yeah,
And I mean, that was maybe around for like a day, and then it sort of died down. Not too many people talking about it. I really think that people were just
I think that got
harping.
overblown.
Yeah, I think people are just. I mean, it's glass. Of course, it can shatter.
Yeah,
So
so
yeah,
we didn't really address that on the site. So what Tim's
no,
referring to is there was like a giant Reddit thread going where people were saying the glass panel up at the top. So this panel, everyone was saying that it was just randomly shattering and they weren't doing anything, and all of a sudden they looked down and it was shattered. And obviously that could be possible. We haven't had one single reader email and say, hey guys, these things are randomly breaking, other than someone saying, here's this thread. Have you guys heard anything about this? But we haven't had one reader that's happened to. So look, I'm not saying like our readers know all and everything like that, but if not one, I mean, we have a lot of readers. So if not one of them has experienced that and emailed us, I don't know that it's a big deal. And I know it kind of made some rounds around some other news outlets. We just haven't. It hasn't broke. We've gone through 3 different units. None of ours are broken, and so I don't. Anyways, yeah. So I wouldn't consider that a flaw.
no. So all in all, Nexus 6P. That's what we're going with for now for Best Buy at the moment, and then probably phone of the year.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously going to try to write up a phone of the year post probably next month, but yeah, I mean, we just did this best phone you can buy right now in November. So unless something really weird changes, like all these 6Ps start like burning on fire, like just melting or something in hands, like it's probably going to be the phone of the year. At the price and what you're getting for it, it's pretty tough to beat. Really good. I mean, Google did a pretty exceptional job, obviously in partnership with Huawei, but did a pretty exceptional job this year with the 6P. 5X, on the other hand, I'm not necessarily running out to recommend the 5X to everyone. Like, well, you guys saw my review, but I pretty much said just spend the extra, $130 and get a 6P. So
it's kind of sad.
Yeah. Just quickly, but our runner-up, this is like as close as it gets to having a runner-up. We put the Samsung Galaxy Note 5. It's just one of those phones that Samsung, other than the software in it, right? It's running Lollipop, and who knows when we'll get Marshmallow, and it's still got TouchWiz, which we hate, and I know not everyone hates it, but there isn't really much wrong with this phone. I just picked it up recently after not using it for a while, and it feels so good in hand. Like, it's a giant phone, but it doesn't really feel that big because of the way it's designed, and it's obviously premium. Probably has the best camera of any mobile phone, has the best display of any mobile phone. It's got wireless charging, which is also fast wireless charging. It's the only phone that has. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the Note 5. It even has an S Pen if you like S Pens. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, I think the overall value you get with the 6P at that price point and stock Android and the updates and all of that stuff is probably what gave it just like this slight edge. But look, the Note 5 is equally as good. So, and then if we said you don't want either of those two phones for some reason, you might as well go for the Moto X Pure Edition. Obviously, Motorola's best phone ever. It's their best camera ever. You can customize it. It's also an incredible price. and it runs pretty much stock Android. And since it's basically their only flagship phone, there's not all these individual carrier variants all over. They will probably update it fairly quickly. I think they even said it's getting Marshmallow in a few weeks, or they're going to start testing or something like that. So yeah. So those are our three. Those are the phones you should pretty much be considering right now. That's not to say we think the LG V10 is a bad phone. I'll talk about my review about that in a second. The Droid Turbo is a good phone. There's like a whole bunch. Still, the Galaxy S6 and all those other S6 variants are still good phones. These are just the three that we think are the best. So, we did ask readers though what they thought the phone of the year was. And a lot of people complain about this poll because they're like, it's just a popularity. It's whatever phone they bought is what they vote for. That's true for the most part. But at the same time, like, people do vote for phones that aren't their phones. Like they may not own any of the new phones. Like they may own last year's Droid Turbo and they may be voting for the 6P. So it's not just everyone voting for their own. Anyway, 10,000 votes in so far, and the 6P is at 37%. So basically like 40% of our readers that voted said 6P is phone of the year, followed by the Note 5, followed by the Moto X Peer. So they kind of went in line with what we said.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have 6s, Turbo 2, poor HTC. Poor HTC logged a couple of votes for the 1M9 and 1A9, but it didn't even crack 1%. They're actually both still at 0%, even though they did get a couple of votes in. Blackberry Priv way down there.
Really?
2% of the vote.
Interesting.
Yeah. So anyways, that is our phone of the year, our best phone you can buy right now. So this morning, earlier this morning, Tim wrote up best Android smartwatch you could buy today. So you want a similar idea to what we just did, but do you want to run through that?
Yeah, basically best Android smartwatch, and it wasn't limited to just Android Wear. It was basically limited to, anyone could get it as long as it ran for an Android device. So the Samsung Gear S2 was, in the running. But today, currently, if you went out and bought a smartwatch for your Android phone, we think that the Moto 360 second gen is the best bang for your buck. It basically has everything you want from a smartwatch, right? It has good looks, has good internals. Motorola did a great job at updating, the internals to something that would actually be usable for more than a few months. Last year it came with a Texas Instrument OMAP processor, which became extremely fidgety and laggy, especially after a year of usage. And a smartwatch, you sort of, especially in the design, you want it to be timeless. So say you want that smartwatch to last forever, but the internals, especially that OMAP processor, did not allow for such a thing. It just became unresponsive sometimes. It was just laggy. It was terrible. But now it's got Snapdragon 400 processor. The design has been updated to that features lugs, which allowed Motorola to include a somewhat larger battery, tiny, smaller battery. It's still small. But, and of course, Android Wear itself has grown so much. And even a year now that it's running Lollipop. And I forget the exact version number that Android Wear is on. It's like 2.3 or 3.2.
Android Wear? It's like it's 1.3, isn't it?
1.3.
It's about to be 1.4, which is Marshmallow.
So Android Wear has gotten a lot better on all devices. So, and the way that you can customize it, and it's still at an affordable price. So the Moto 360 second gen starts at $299 through Moto Maker and also on Google Store. But even if you want to deck it out in all gold and you want to get the neural bezel going, and really deck this thing, and even leather bands, it's really not that expensive. So I really think that is why I think it is the smartwatch to buy today. And I don't know, do you want to add anything? I know that you feel the same way.
Yeah, it's the I kind of keep coming back to value, right? Like with the Nexus, it was value compared to the Note 5. And with this, it's for $299, you could, and obviously that's the base price, but you customize this thing at no extra cost unless you start, adding yet knurling and all that stuff. But you can basically make your own for $299. And we'll get to the runner up in a second, but it's like, because you can make a watch just how you want it, and it also just looks good in general. The design looks great. It's like kind of a classic watch design. It does have the lugs. They moved the crown position. Like there's all these things they did to just make it slightly better. But it's really the only one you can say, no, I want, a black case, but I want a gold bezel, and I want it in 46 millimeter versus 42 or whatever. You can change all that. They just, yeah, it's overall just everything about it, I think, just makes it the best smartwatch you can buy right now.
Yeah, Motorola definitely made like the perfect sequel. I think they really tried to touch on what people didn't like about the first one and really, brought their A game with the second one. And so big props to them. The only issue that I could really come up with was the flat tire that everyone seems to, not everyone, a lot of people seem to harp on, is the flat tire or the ambient light sensor that is on the front bottom portion of the display. And
It
so
seemed
you
like
don't,
this year it didn't get as much play. Like everyone
because it's played out.
ditched initially, and then they were just like, whatever, it is what it is. Like I don't feel like people complain about it as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, right when they first announced it, it was definitely still there. They're like, what? They brought it back? But at the same time, Motorola must feel that the ambient light sensor is a really important feature for their watch. It really helps separate them from the pack. Yeah,
It's kind of weird. Like we haven't really talked about
it.
that, but yeah, it's one of those things, especially if you use like the Huawei watch or, like this Tag watch or whatever. I don't ever want like the screen to automatically adjust brightness so much. Like if I need to be brighter, I'll just hit the damn theater mode or whatever, not theater mode, but the sunlight mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever.
Yeah. That's really my only beef. And I think a lot of other people's main beef is just the flat tire. But other than that, all around good smartwatch for $299. I mean, for a smartwatch, I don't want to get into like if smartwatches are even worth that much, but that is what it costs, and I don't think it's a bad price. If getting into Android Wear and sort of having an extension of your smartphone on your wrist, is good for you.
Yeah, and I mean the price at $299 for a starting price, and even if you go full out gold everything with knurling and go 46 millimeter, I think it's still under $500. And look, that's expensive for a smartwatch. But if you compare it to like the highest end Huawei, even like a second tier Apple Watch, you're still not even there. So you could go get the most decked out, biggest Moto 360, and you've customized it to your liking, and it's still under $500. So
yeah. But second runner up, if you don't like the Moto, if you can stand the flat tire, is definitely the Huawei watch. It's basically, I in the post, I wanted to say it's everything the Moto 360 isn't, but that didn't exactly make sense. To me, the Huawei watch, it features that fully circular display. I want to say it features, more high end sort of, or like premium materials, but not really. Moto, they use the Horween leather instead of sort of that genuine leather bands that Huawei uses, at least on the stock model. But the Huawei watch, it starts at $350, and there's only that one. I think there's two models at $350 with stainless steel, with the black leather, and that's the one that we reviewed. Because at the time, and still not available, was, of course, I wanted that all gold one, but of course it costs $800, $799. And
you still can't buy that one, by the way.
Exactly, it's still not available. They just made the rose gold and alligator band one available, and that's like $600 or something. It's $750. Too much.
There,
yeah. So great smartwatch. Still features Android Wear. Huawei baked in like 40 custom smartwatch faces, and I mean, it's basically the same thing as a Moto 360, except it's made by Huawei. Features a higher resolution AMOLED display.
Yeah, I would say the display is probably an upgrade. It's higher resolution. I love the AMOLED display on that thing.
It looks gorgeous. It looks gorgeous. But again, I mean, you're just not getting that same level of, say, the customization, right. And then you're looking at that price bump. Even for the one I really like, which is the sort of the stainless steel mesh band, the one that you have. Mm-hmm. I think that's $399.
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at $400. I guess if you've got the money to spend, why not? I mean, it's not a bad device by any means, but I think for the general populace,
Huawei was like, we're making a luxury watch. We're not necessarily, which is why it's just slightly higher priced. Didn't they kind of say that, like, we're making more of a high end watch, not just the affordable thing? But
exactly, yeah. I don't think I went to their press conference for it, and they said they weren't looking to please the early adopters, who want all the tech stuff. They want to please the timepiece lovers who want a classic timepiece watch, and et cetera, et cetera. So, and yeah, and if you can't stand any Android Wear device in general, you've got the Samsung Gear S2. But I'm going to let you speak on that one. You have way more experience with it than I do.
Yeah, so the Gear S2, it's one of those things like I spent a whole bunch of time with it a month or so ago, and then we got bombarded with new phones, and so it's kind of taken a back seat. Um, it's obviously Samsung's best smartwatch ever, which isn't necessarily saying a lot. It's just a totally different take on a watch software experience that Android Wear. It's more of a let's load up apps and set up specific pages that show weather and health and all of this stuff, rather than like the glanceable cards on Android Wear that you just dismiss and dismiss. The Gear S2 is like, let's set up dedicated pages for things we like. Um, it's an okay watch UI. You kind of have to get used to it. But it's got that awesome bezel, which rotates, which is like the coolest smartwatch feature. And I wish everyone would somehow enable that on theirs. The battery life's fine. The design's fine. It's a small enough watch that it should fit just about everyone. The price is fine. It's $299 for the base model there. I think the biggest problem I have with the Gear S2 is like the app ecosystem is garbage. Like there isn't one, I should say. Like Samsung, when they launched it, they partnered with a few people like ESPN and Nike Plus to get some stuff on there. But like Runkeeper, unless something's changed in the last month, like Runkeeper, which is the app I use to run with, they don't have an app for the Gear S2, so I can't even use it. And so that's their problem is since they ditched Android Wear and went with their own Tizen operating system, it just doesn't. There aren't apps, and I don't know the developers are ever going to make apps for it because who knows if these watches are even going to be successful. So overall, the UI and the build and the design and all that stuff, and even the price is right with this watch, but the software experience with apps, it just may not be the best option. But like you see, option if you don't like Android Wear, not necessarily the best smartwatch. So yeah, those are our picks.
Those are our picks.
Best smartwatch you can buy today.
And the third runner-up, I believe, was the Tag Connected, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, God. The Tag Connected. Do you want me to talk about this real quick?
Yeah, sure. Let's go for it.
So this is the Tag Connected right here. So Tag Heuer announced a Android Wear device. And, we knew it was coming. It's not like it was a surprise. We knew it was coming. This is it, though. This is a $1,500 Android Wear smartwatch, which is just insane. So the Huawei watch, the highest priced Huawei watch is $800. And it's stainless steel with like a rose gold plating on it. Like it's a rubber band, and it is the body is made of titanium though. And so is the clasp. But I mean, it's not necessarily the build's not necessarily that nicer than, those other ones. It's totally different watch. Like it's a sport watch. It's not supposed to be, a classy wear with a suit timepiece. The specs are decent on it. They're not amazing. It does have a gig of RAM though, which is kind of crazy. The display though, it's not even as high resolution as that on the Huawei watch. I will say this though. It's one of the most comfortable smartwatches I've ever worn. And it's a rubber band, it's not the leather bands we've seen from some of the other ones or the metal bands. It's rubber, but the titanium body and all that stuff, it's really light and really, really comfortable. A lot of the Android Wear watches, just wearing them throughout a day, they kind of start bugging me after a while. I don't know if it's some of them have cheap bands or what it is. This thing I can wear all day, almost like a sport or like a fitness band, except it's a watch. The experience, obviously, it's Android Wear. There's nothing new about it. Like Tag didn't do anything special with the software. They included, I think it's 4 different Tag-inspired watch faces that they took from like their chronograph and some other Carrera models and things like that. And there's like a GMT watch face. And I've changed off of this because I think they're ugly. So, and like I don't mind some of Tag's real watches and some of their designs aren't bad, but the watch faces, they sort of carried over from real watches onto here. Just, I don't think translated all that well. So I'm going to review this thing shortly. I mean, it's not that hard of a review, but it's a $1,500 smartwatch. Like, I don't know that anyone needs a $1,500 smartwatch. This is a technology that's going to be outdated soon. So I don't know why. Tag did a sort of a unique thing though. If you pay $1,500 for this, in 2 years when the warranty's up, they'll let you pay another $1,500 and get a real Swiss Carrera watch that I think they're making exclusively for people that bought this. So you kind of are getting an exclusive watch that maybe other people can't get, and it's a real watch. And it is what it is. I mean, like, you just paid $1,500. Do you really want to pay another $1,500 for a real watch? So you're basically paying $3,000 for a Tag Carrera, which is kind of expensive for a tag watch, but I don't know. I mean, it's like, it's one of those things. We picked it up because it's the first luxury smartwatch for Android, and I'm not going to tell anyone to go buy this. Like, if you just have money to blow and you like the label, like if you're just the massive Tag Heuer fan, sure, go buy it. Like, it is what it is. But everyone else, like, you shouldn't even really be considering this thing. It's just not worth it.
I played with it for about 5 minutes, and I thought it actually ran very smoothly. I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
gig of RAM really helps Android Wear." Like, it was fine.
Intel processor.
Yeah, an Intel processor. So all in all, I thought it was cool. I mean, it's definitely a little. It's on the bulky side, but I could see how you would say it's comfortable. Like, it doesn't. It's not weighty or anything like that. So
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the lightest watches you'll put on, which is kind of nice. So.
how much was that special edition Watcher Bane that LG put out? Wasn't that like $12.99 or something?
That's right. They had a gold one. I don't know.
Yeah, I know that was over $1,000, but I still think Tag has them beat out.
Oh, it was a 23 karat Watcher Bane. It was 1200.
1200. So yeah, you can still get a 24 karat gold watch, or you can just get a Tag sport band with rubber bands for 1500.
It's just crazy to think that this Tag watch is 15 and that gold Watcher Bane was 1200, and yet the Apple Watch edition still starts at $10,000.
I just wish rich people had like better things to spend their money on when it comes to stuff like this, you know, like something like super cool. Like none of the, especially the Watcher Bane. I'm sorry, I don't personally enjoy the Watcher Bane, like the design or the look of it at all.
The Watcher Bane is the ugliest Android Wear smartwatch ever made. I'll go on the record and say, like, I have that thing and I wore it and I just looked at my wrist and just shook my head every time. I was like, I cannot believe I'm wearing this thing. It is so atrocious.
That's what I'm saying, though. I wish people that had the money for these fancy things could buy nice looking fancy things, and everyone would be super jelly. Like, why doesn't the Tag maybe come with a few diamonds in it or something like that? I mean,
it's titanium. I think that's like that's what you're paying for. I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, that's a
good looking watch.
It's a good looking watch. I mean,
$500.
It's funny because like Tag went sport watch instead of like Moto, and Huawei went classic timepiece, and so they did. And I mean, I think they did a good job. Like, it's a nice looking watch. It's just that it's a smartwatch is also.
Yeah.
So anyway,
I think it looks cool. Yeah, I'm just saying $1,500. That is rough, but I'm glad you got one.
Well, you know what sucks now is like we're bought into this thing for $1,500, and like in 2 years, like, I mean, do I?
You trade up. I
mean, you kind of feel like you have to.
You have to, because in 2 years, that thing's going to be totally worthless and obsolete.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. In 2 years, this thing becomes worth pennies, right? So like, you might as well. You're already $1,500 invested. I guess you just have to then go buy the real deal.
Yep, it's kind of cool if they are designing something special for the people who bought the connected, and it's some sort of exclusive.
I believe it is.
That's kind of legit, like an exclusive Tag non-connected Carrera. That could be sweet. I could go on eBay.
I saw that on. It was one of the like watch sites. It was like a blog to watch or something, did a write-up on it.
What do they think about it? I mean, have you read much of what the watch community feels about the smartwatch?
I did, yeah. So I read, so Kevin Rose, from Dig fame, and he's worked with Google and stuff like that. He's like one of the owners now of Hodinkee, and he did like a video overview, but he didn't really because Hodinkee's like editor did the intro for the Tag Heuer event. Right. So they couldn't really, you could tell Kevin was like, I can't really be critical. Let me just tell you guys what this is. But I read on a blog to watches, their little write-up, and I swear they had a picture of what the special Carrera will look like. I'm looking through their site now and I'm not finding it. But I thought it was like a mock-up type of picture. The funny thing with them was they were like, this is one of the first watches, like smartwatches that has, I can't remember what they said, like a personality, or has like you feel like it's a real watch because like the display doesn't go fully black, like it stays on and shows the dial. And I wanted to email the guy and go, you're wrong there. Like, Android Wear watches have all had an always on display. He must have only held the Apple Watch or something. But I was like, you're wrong there, bro. Yeah, I'm not finding that picture of the actual watch. Anyway, I thought I saw like a mock-up of it. So, but as far as I know, it's supposed to be a specially made Carrera just for people that bought this. So, anyways,
well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's something.
And they've got those different colors too. So, which I believe are still not yet available.
But still, if you go into a Tag boutique, they have the other colors, but online it was only black. And we don't have Tag boutiques in Portland, Oregon, so we have the black version.
We don't? Shoot, I figured we'd have one out here.
I saw some pictures of a couple of Tags. There was like in New York City, and I think there was a line of people that was kind of surprised that. Yeah, I think with luxury watches, people get attached to a brand, right? It's just like with Apple and stuff like that. They get attached to a brand and like they care. Like there's probably tons of dudes out there that have Tag collections. So this is probably just something you collect. I don't know. All right, so moving on. Let's start talking through all the reviews we've done recently. So I guess I'll start with the LG V10. So LG V10 is the surprise hit of the year, I would say. Was obviously when this phone was first announced, I was a little, I don't want to say critical of it. I just kind of poked at it a little bit. It was like, hey, look at all these stuff and things. Like LG just like created a marketing term sheet and created a giant phone, and people got mad at me, and rightfully so. I will just say that I actually like the phone. I spent a long time with it. I spent like 2 weeks with it and was getting ready to write up the review. And then the Nexus phones arrived on our doorstep. And so I kind of put it down. We went Nexus reviews and then I went back to it. And so I've spent 2 different occasions with the V10, and it's a really good phone. It's huge and probably too huge for my liking. Actually, if you hold it up next to the 6P, it's not that much bigger than the 6P. They're about the same size, but there's something about it that just feels a lot bigger. But like it's got these steel sides and it's speedy enough, having a Snapdragon 808 in there. The camera's pretty good, although I wasn't overly impressed with it. The software is LG software, and it's not my favorite, but it's gotten somewhat better. It has that goofy secondary display, which actually has some use. Like when the phone's off or in a locked state, that little display like always shows a clock, so you can always know what time it is without having to touch a button, and it shows you if you have notifications. And so I found that little secondary display useful when I wasn't using the phone, when it was just sitting on a desk or something. When the screen was on and it shows you like recent apps and shortcuts, I never use that stuff because the phone's too big and you couldn't even reach up top there. See, what didn't I like? There wasn't a lot I didn't like. I will say, though, that the fingerprint sensor in this thing is terrible. I set it up and I just stopped using it after a while because it just never read anything. The speaker on the bottom of the phone is also about the worst speaker I've ever heard in a smartphone. Like I cranked up a couple of videos and it was just like crackle, crack voice. It was bad news. But overall though, V10, I mean, I'll admit, like I was making fun of the phone, and I can admit now that I don't want to say I was wrong. I'll just say that I stand maybe corrected a little bit in the fact that the phone's actually pretty good. And I should have given it a little bit more of a fair shake up front. You spent a little bit of time with the V10. What did you think about it?
Too big and awkward, like really awkward to hold for some reason. The way how thin it is with sort of like the metal siding, but then super thin plastic. There was just something about it. Didn't feel right in my hand. I don't really care for the look, honestly. I think it's sort of weird. It's got that plastic front, bottom side, and the fingerprint sensor, like you said, it was absolutely terrible, at least in my opinion.
It was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, coming from a Nexus 6P or even the Galaxy Note 5, I mean, these have well-working fingerprint readers, but the V10 was a major step backwards. I mean, it took a couple of times to get it going. The setup was ridiculous. It took a solid 10 minutes to set this bad boy up. Every time it would say, all right, take your finger up, put it back down. But like each time I did it, like wasn't reading that I was doing it. And I swear, like the progress thing went up, and then it even went down a couple of times. I'm like, how do you go down? I was at 75% complete. Now I'm back at 50. Like, what's going on? it was really frustrating to set up. LG software, I'm not a huge fan of. I think they got a lot of work to do in that department, sort of like what Samsung did with TouchWiz, but more so. Other than that, the camera seemed great, although the camera did not deliver nearly as well as I thought it would. For example, I would go outside with the dogs, take some pictures. On the device, they look sick. Like the color looks fantastic. I'm like, wow, I can't wait to get these on the internet for everyone to see how good of a photographer I am. But then I would get them on there and I'd blow them up and they just don't look as detailed or as crisp. And I'm just like, well, that's sort of a downer. I was out there for half hour. So yeah, I don't know what the problem is. I tried messing with the manual mode. I think it's great, all the work that LG puts into the manual mode with the video and photo now. And you can really play with a lot of fun stuff. Even the audio, it's really great. It's a super comprehensive experience for people who love photography. But it just did not deliver the results that I was expecting, especially since the G4 I thought delivered great in terms of camera. So that was my take on the V10.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with the camera. I was expecting it to be one of the best, and then I just was kind of underwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the V10 it's a large phone, but it's got almost everything you could want packed inside. It's got a removable battery too, an SD card slot, which a lot of phones don't have. I think LG did a really nice job on it. It's obviously not the phone for me, but if you like giant phones and you don't mind LG's skin, like, you really can't go wrong with it.
So you are right. For anyone who wants it, I have the picture. They have what tag will sell you. I know this is late, but they have what tag will sell you if you bought the tag code connected. I'm just going to put it right here in the chat.
Oh, yeah,
but they say this is what you'll be able to buy for another $1,500 when the 2-year warranty on the also $1,500 tag heuer connected watch expires. Sort of a plain looking all black.
Is that really it? Yeah, so it's basically the same watch. They just swapped out the internals.
Yeah.
So it's a Sport Carrera with a date.
But yeah.
So it's the same watch.
It's not terrible, but $1,500. You're just paying for the name. That's all you're getting. You're still getting titanium.
Yeah, you're still getting titanium. I mean, like I said, it's a comfortable watch. So if they it'll add a little bit more weight once they put that movement in there. But
yeah. Regardless.
Anyways. Yeah. All right. So V10. On that fingerprint scanner note, remember how we both said it sucked?
Yeah.
I think it was Vlad at The Verge did a report on all of the fingerprint sensors everyone's using. And it's that company that Samsung was supposed to buy and never did, I believe.
Yep.
And so everyone is using those fingerprint readers now, and including LG and the V10, except they did something different. Like everyone was using a certain API or doing something properly, and LG went a sort of different route. Like it's the same sensor everyone's using, but their implementation was slightly different. And so whatever they did sucks.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, so the LG V10, it's really good phone. If you like the look, which is certainly an acquired look, I don't think you can go wrong there. Let's see. Okay, so Turbo 2 and Maxx 2. So the new Droid phones. Like all of this stuff has happened since like our last show. So Motorola and Verizon obviously announced new Droid phones. I think our last show we talked about our sort of first impressions with them. So our reviews are out now. I'll try to be quick with this too. The Turbo 2, it's another really good phone. It's another one of those phones you can't really go wrong with. It's got good performance. I actually noted that it was one of the better performing phones I've used in a really long time. And maybe that was because I was coming from the 5X, which had god-awful performance. But Turbo 2, really good performance. Customization, it's got Moto Maker. You kind of can't go wrong there. It's got a good camera in it because it's basically the same camera that's in the Moto X Pure. Really good camera, actually. It was one of those that stood out as well. Battery life is obviously phenomenal. It has like what's the battery size? Like 3,900 milliamp hours, something crazy like that. I mean, obviously that's part of the point, right? Is to have a giant battery, 3,760 milliamp hour. But so it's huge. It lasts forever. And then it has the shatterproof display technology, which is a big deal. The only thing I will say is the display isn't great because it's basically a plastic display, first gen type of thing. They clearly need to just sort of upgrade that component. So it's not the best looking display, but it's probably going to be fine for most people. It is indeed shatterproof. And I believe it's shatterproof because it's all plastic and you can't really shatter most plastic. Most plastic just like bends or rips. So I dropped the thing a ton and obviously didn't shatter it. I scuffed up the edges and things like that. Also, if you do scuff the phone up enough, you can replace the top lens on it and basically have a brand new display whenever you want. Those new lenses do cost $30 from Motorola though. Let's see. Not really anything bad to say about it other than it doesn't have a fingerprint reader. And, most of the other phones we're talking about these days seem to have those. And it's also Verizon exclusive in the US. So if you're in the US and you wanted a shatterproof phone, you're screwed unless you're on Verizon. It also has just an insane amount of bloatware, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, good phone though. I mean, I really like the Turbo. It's ugly as hell. I should say the white version. I actually mentioned that in the review that the white version is the ugliest phone I've ever seen. I'm not joking. It is so ugly. They did this split speaker thing on the bottom with the Verizon check mark, and there's all these sensors sticking out. Like, if you're going to buy this phone, and don't get me wrong, if you buy this phone, you'll be perfectly happy with it. It's a great phone. But buy the black version. Do not buy the white version. It is ugly. So yeah, that's Turbo 2. You had the Maxx 2. You want to talk Maxx 2 review?
Yeah, I had the Maxx 2 real quick. I just want to talk about the Droid Turbo 2. I had someone come up to me on the streets who doesn't know anything about smartphones, and they said that they saw the commercial for the Droid Turbo 2, and they were like, wow, I saw with the display you can actually bend it? That is so cool. And I was like, no. That is like advertising wishy-washy bull crap. You cannot bend the display. Yeah, it's just a plastic OLED that is bendable, but they put it inside glass and plastic. You can't bend it.
That's
and he's
funny.
like,
I know what you're talking about too. That's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, it looks cool on TV, but I don't like the way they did that.
Tricking people. Yeah,
so the Maxx 2, basically I said...
you loved it, right?
Yeah, not a phone of the year candidate, even though some may disagree. It had great battery life, and I sort of like caught some flack for this, but I said it had too much battery life because just the way my day goes.
I know exactly what you're talking about, but yeah, go ahead.
Like, I plug my phone in at the end of the night. If the phone has 40% left at night, I'm not going to plug it in because I know I can get through the night. And I just don't want to like kind of burn out the battery or anything like that. I know it's not 2008, but I have a thing, especially because it turbocharges. So, and I don't know if there's been enough research into turbocharging and battery life and charging over 100. They say, the batteries just, they don't take anything more than 100%. But anyway, I'm not a scientist. Anyway,
I just have two things to say before you keep going. Number one, you're fine charging batteries as long as you want. You're going to be okay. Trust me. You can get over that. Second, though, what I mean by I know what you're talking about is, at least I think I know what you're talking about, is you're saying like you get through a day and you're at like 40%. And so then you're in this like area where you go, well, shit, do I charge it? Do I not charge it? Because that 40%, it'll get you to like 2 o'clock the next day and you're gonna have to charge it again. But then like at 2 o'clock, are you gonna be near a charger? So I know what you mean, like it's like too much because it'll get you through a day, but it can't quite get you through that second day. So you have to find a damn charger anyway. So I think I kind of know what you mean.
Exactly. So I ended up, because I came to that same dilemma that Kellen just explained multiple times when I started using the phone, I just started charging it every night. And it was great. It got me through an entire day. And I found that once I was able to convince myself that I would just charge it every night, regardless of how much was left at the end of the day, I started using the phone more and I was more active on the things I wanted to do because I knew I'm just going to charge it at the end of the day anyway. And I know it has enough battery life to get me through all of this in that day. So other than the great battery life that I had a crappy display, crappy camera. The first time I turned on the camera, it was fine, but then the second time I turned on the camera, it had some really weird image processing bug that I shared with my fellow Droid Life people, and it was really odd. Luckily, it never did that again, but the camera just not as good as some of the cameras we're seeing on the other phones. But it's a budget-friendly device. if you just need a phone that sort of lacks in the processing power department, sort of lacks in the camera department, it's not a bad choice. I mean, it is on Verizon's network, and we all know that that's worth every penny. And it comes with so much bloatware too. That's the Droid brand is so watered down.
How many
by
games
garbage.
were like? Well, they weren't installed, but on both of
They're
these phones,
shortcuts.
there were like these 3 little shortcuts, the little kitty games. It was super, super dirty. And yeah, you click them and you have to go install them, but still, like, come on, Verizon.
It's really a pretty poor decision, I think, on their side. But it's just not a phone I would recommend, considering that there's other devices out there. For example, the Moto X Pure Edition, which was only like $20 more than the Maxx 2, and you get to customize it, and you can like have leather and have a way better camera. And I just twisted
upgrades like everywhere, and it's like $20 more. It might even only be $10 more. How much was this phone? I thought this phone was $389.
Yeah,
or was it $379?
I thought it was $379.
That could be it. Yeah,
but I mean, a couple of dollars more.
Yeah,
that's just pennies a day. So I think
it's one of those phones where you kind of go, all right, well, it's the budget version of the Turbo 2. Let's give it let's cut it some slack here, and then you go, wait a minute, it is $379, by the way, or no, $384. $384.
Okay, that's
but then you go, wait a minute, at $384, the Nexus 5X is $5 cheaper and is a better phone. And then the Moto X Pure Edition, which is Motorola's actual flagship, is $16 more. So why would you not just go? I mean, you could get a OnePlus 2 if you wanted. It's technically a little more high end than this. So yeah, I just remember when we were first having our conversation and you were talking through all this stuff, I was like, yeah, I want to cut it some slack. It's a budget phone. And then you start comparing and you go, wait a minute, there's all these other phones out there that are better, that are the same price or cheaper. So
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, just not a phone I would recommend. I mean, it definitely has its pros, but it definitely has its cons. And I think the cons for this device outweigh the pros. So that's all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, not every phone has to be like, oh, you should run out and buy it. Some phones just, they're just not that good.
Yeah, someone asked if we would just disable the bloat, and that's the first thing we do is disable the bloat. But at the same time, I just don't want the phone to come preloaded with a half hour of work I have to do to disable all the bloat.
Well, there's also some of the Verizon stuff you can't, because it's all a lot of it's system tied, and so you can't just disable it. So
yeah, NFL Mobile you can uninstall though, so that's good.
They're letting you uninstall that now, huh? That's good.
Pretty sure I was able to.
Surprised.
Yeah. Well, real quick, I booted up the phone. I disabled all the bloatware. I saw that there was updates for all of it in Google Play. I thought it would just refresh, knowing that I disabled it. It didn't. So it updated it all. Then I had to disable it all again. So, this world. But yep, that's it.
You also had a problem with the headphone jack too, didn't you? And it took you like 8 different headphones to find one that would work. So that's kind of a weird issue.
I tried 4 sets of headphones, 2 over ears and 2 buds. And the only earbuds that I got to work super properly, like with no kind of scratching and clicking noises, was a pair of Samsung buds that came with the Galaxy Note 5.
Seriously,
and I told that to Motorola, like public relations, and they got a kick out of that.
But, I'm sure they did.
But I think that was just my unit. I don't know what happened with it. I mean, it could just be a damaged component. Yeah, I mean, it's a simple fix, but at the same time, it was a problem for me.
Yeah. All right. So BlackBerry Priv is in-house. Well, Ron has it, for those wondering. So we got a BlackBerry Priv and unboxed it and did that sort of initial impression. I did that. And then we shipped it off to Ron. Because as I mentioned at the start of the show, Tim and I are a little reviewed out at the moment. And Ron's been looking forward to this thing. He's been talking about the Priv quite a bit. So he's got it, working on the review. We asked him just before the show for a quick impressions or thoughts just as of right now on the Priv. And we're going straight quote here. I'm with a client, but the short version is phone of the year with mediocre battery. I love the keyboard. And he said it's like the stylus for the Note, but actually useful. So
how is the keyboard like the stylus for the Note?
I think he's just saying it's sort of like an accessory, but you actually will use it. You know, we talk about
Uh,
the pen and the note, right? And how we want to use it, but we can't ever find a reason to actually use it. I think
yeah.
he's saying it's kind of like that. It's an add-on, but he actually does use it. So,
Interesting. So phone of the year, just he's going all out. Phone of the year.
so Ron's good. Ron might have lost it a little bit. um, so that's Ron's just initial thought. We're gonna have him on once his review's done. So I don't know when that is. Probably next week, maybe. Although no, it's Thanksgiving next week. So once he does the review, which should be soon, we're gonna have him on so we can. He's got to justify. These are big statements. These are big.
Well, he also said the HTC One A9 was the phone of the year, so we'll see.
Yeah, that's right. He said it was a contender. So I'll just say I had the phone for I don't know half a day, unboxed it, play with it for a minute. So I don't have many impressions other than it actually feels pretty good in hand. Although it has this really tacky back that is both I could see being both good and bad. Like it's never going to slip out of your hand, but it also I could see it just picking up nasty things and just looking gross over time. But the keyboard, I used it a little bit. It was, it's okay. It's a physical keyboard. I actually like the fact that you can use it as a touchpad. I think that's a pretty cool addition. The phone wasn't overly big or heavy or anything for having the size of battery it does and that keyboard on there. Yeah, I am personally interested to hear what Ron's final verdict is.
Now, I'm
I'm a little
personally
surprised.
not like that phone just does not interest me anymore. I've seen too much of it. It's being pawned off by everyone. I'm just like, I'm just so over it, I don't
Yeah, there's a
know.
little excessive hype going on with the Priv that I'm just not understanding. Like it was one of those when it came out and everyone, especially our readers, saw the price. They just kind of went, and that it was the exclusive. They all just lost interest right away. So I'm not sure what the excessive continued hype is all about. Most people don't really seem to care anymore about this phone.
Real people don't care.
Most of the reviews I've read all were like, it was a nice attempt, but you probably shouldn't buy this phone. And that's what most people said. So again, that's why I'm interested to hear what Ron has to say about it. So on a related note, though, Verizon has confirmed that it will carry it soon. They didn't give a date. I saw an interview with BlackBerry CEO yesterday, and he talked about the exclusivity with AT&T, and he said that was going to run through the end of the calendar year. So Verizon must think soon is like 3 months away or something. So, yeah. I'm just so confused by that all. So anyways, BlackBerry Priv, we've got a review coming. It'll be from Ron. Look out for that soon. So we can see if it really is phone of the year candidate. All right. So you have a couple of devices in-house. You now have a OnePlus X in the massive Galaxy View. You want to talk about those briefly? You can start with whichever one you want to go with.
Yeah, sure. I can shoot through the OnePlus X real quick. Don't buy it. For the Galaxy View, and the reason I say that for the OnePlus X is because, like I reached out to OnePlus to make sure that their LTE radios, that all the specs they list were correct, and apparently they are. And what we found is that the device just won't run very well on at least AT&T's LTE network, and so
it's a pretty big deal. I mean, to unlock
deal
that you're selling in the US and you don't include AT&T's major LTE band, like what the hell are they thinking?
I think they're just thinking that it really wasn't even going to be a big deal for U.S. consumers, even though they tried to make it seem like it was. I mean, because they did announce it for the U.S., but then they left out a very important feature. So they said they have no plans of updating it to like sort of enable that radio or anything. So, I mean, it's a $250 phone. It feels really good. It's a really nice, well done phone. This is the best hardware that OnePlus has ever made. I'll say that.
It looks great, yeah.
It looks great, but you just can't use it. I stuck in a AT&T LTE enabled SIM, and nope, nothing I got. I was having so many issues. I was going from 3G to HSPA back to 3G. I would reboot, and I never saw LTE, and I live in a pretty sort of urban, it's suburban, but definitely I live right outside of Portland, major metro city, and nothing. And I'm not going to walk around with 3G in my pocket. Like, I'm sorry, this is not 2008. So
it's seriously going to be like that for most people, unless you're in a major city that has band 4 coverage from AT&T. Which, don't get me wrong, they're growing that network, right?
It's getting better.
the main LTE network of AT&T is in band 17 and the phone doesn't have it. So if you're not like in the center of a city, chances are you're probably not going to have LTE with that phone, which is stupid. So don't buy. I mean, look, you can buy and use it on T-Mobile. It has band 4, but it doesn't have T-Mobile's band 12, which is their extended range LTE. So you're not going to get that eventually. And I know it's only a $200. It is a $200 phone.
250.
Oh, 250. Okay. So yeah, it's just, unless you're going to use it on T-Mobile and you don't care about band 12, like don't buy it in the US. If you're in another country, sure, think about it.
If it has the radios for your country, your territory,
check
might want to check
support.
Yeah, because apparently OnePlus just doesn't like to disclose like that their phone doesn't work where they're selling it. So
yeah, that's one of those things. Like, yeah, it's for the US, but it'll barely work.
It really will barely work. I mean, for an unlocked phone, that's the only beef, is that it's an unlocked phone. It's marketed as an unlocked phone. So an unlocked phone sort of needs these things in order to work as you would hope from an unlocked device here in the US. So I think that was really like our main beef. But
I'm just wondering if, like, you know, they're sort of thinking band 17 hasn't really caught on yet. You know, it's not really like a big technology yet. So maybe they just left it out of this one, and they'll re-add it in later when AT&T's LTE becomes a big deal.
They'll listen to the community and they'll take feedback, and maybe they'll implement it next year. Maybe they won't. Who knows? You still need an invite to buy the damn thing.
Oh, that's right,
who even cares?
Yeah,
who really cares?
Yeah, let's move on. The hell with the OnePlus X.
Yes. So on to the Samsung Galaxy View. Man, what a device. Definitely tablet of the year in my book. That thing is so massive. 18.4-inch display. It's full HD at least, 1920 by 1080p. And, you know, there are some downsides. It only features 2 gigs of RAM, sort of an underpowered Exynos processor. And when we're talking 18.4 inches of full HD resolution, you're going to need some power to really drive that. And it has TouchWiz on top of Android Lollipop, the buggiest Android to date. And so really, I had like some hiccups here and there. Touch input, extremely terrible. When the keyboard, it takes a lot of time for the keyboard to actually pop up for you to type on it. And when you're typing on it, it's super plasticky. I mean, it just doesn't feel, it's not a premium device. The design is awful. It has a built-in kickstand, which you cannot remove. It's not a flat design.
Does it has the keyboard like tilt, or is it just one position? Like
the keyboard or the back stand?
Back stand. Can you adjust it, or is it one position?
You can adjust it. It's on a hinge. It either is standing up at the worst possible angle, like vertically almost, because I'm always sitting like low like this, or you have it on its back where it's sitting up, kind of like kind of at an angle, and you can like type on it like on a laptop. Yeah, and that looks good, but boy, I just don't think it's all that good of a device.
Do you have it laying right there? You probably don't.
Of course I do.
Just hold this thing up so we can see it on camera. Oh my God.
Here it is, folks. Galaxy View. It's massive.
It's so huge.
Taking calls. But no, it's, you know, so here's what I mean. So it's got here it is, and it operates on a hinge system. Oh, dude. The first time I opened it out of the box, I was like, what the hell is this thing? Like, I didn't know it came with an
Is that like permanently curved?
Yes. Yeah.
I thought it would like fold.
No, it doesn't fold. It's always there. But
wait, you can't take that off?
No, that's permanently attached.
What?
Yeah, there's definitely no latches. I looked inside the user manual to see if I could disassemble it, but no. The reason, I think, is because, so on the backside, it has these external speakers that give it a hump. I don't know if you can see right there. It's a huge hump. There's external speakers, but it's really poorly designed, at least in my opinion.
I had never seen the back of it.
Oh yeah, it's pretty bad. But it comes with on AT&T's network, it comes with access to DirecTV and NFL Sunday Ticket, so that makes it worth it.
All right, I'll try to get myself under control here.
Yeah, compose yourself.
Oh boy. All right, so it has DirecTV though, which is kind of cool, right?
Yeah, on AT&T, you can buy it without AT&T on for like $600, I think. If you get it on AT&T, you can pick it up for only $99 with a 2-year service agreement to DirecTV. I'm sorry, that's a ripoff. But it should be free if you're getting 2 years of DirecTV. Man, that's just my opinion. But yeah, it's massive. I mean, it's 18 inches of worthlessness, because I know Kellen and I probably share the same opinion on Android tablets. Like, app developers don't take Android tablets as seriously as iOS developers do, where apps are really tailored for the iPad specifically. And on Android, you know, everything just sort of auto sizes itself. And so I think developers just kind of poo-poo Android tablets. And that's what's going to happen here.
It seems like the type of device that if you had it, it might be good, like moving around your house, because it does have a handle, right? So like moving around your house, if you wanted to have a screen in a room where you don't maybe have TV, but you also need DirecTV to really take advantage of that.
Built-in handle right here. It's got the little.
I thought like for sure that thing would fold like flat. I thought it was like a curved thing that you could.
No, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard plastic, but it feels extremely fragile. Like it bends.
It looks fragile.
Yeah, it's so cheap sounding. Like it's a piece of shit, dude.
Oh, that's amazing.
But yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So you're not saying run out and sign a 3-year contract for that thing?
No. Yeah. I mean, if like it acts as a cool secondary device. You know, say you're outside, you got your barbecue going, you need your NFL out there or something like that, and you have just unlimited amount of cash to just spend on stuff, then why not? But no real person needs the Galaxy View. I've seen Engadget retweet the same post saying, "I don't know why this thing exists," and I agree. I don't exactly know why, because you know, if you have a HD TV in your home, then I think you'll do just fine without it. But if you have no TV and you still want access to DirecTV and NFL and all that, then it's a decent option. But it's just the design sucks and the build sucks and TouchWiz sucks, and it'll probably never get Marshmallow. So
oh god, no, never.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
Yep, that's it. Galaxy View. Don't expect a full review.
All right. So in carrier news, well, number one, Verizon's $20 price hike on unlimited data plans is live. So it doesn't go into effect until your next billing cycle, starting after the 15th. So like say your billing cycle ends on November 26th, you would have a $20 price increase in that next month. Also, if you want to upgrade, because once this increase goes into effect, you can upgrade using a device payment plan. I think you can actually sign a 2-year contract to and upgrade once this happens and not lose unlimited. But you also can't do that until your next billing cycle starts. So just in mind. Sprint announced the biggest wireless offer in history. I should put quotes up for that this week, which is basically just a rehashing of a plan they did a year ago, except they added T-Mobile to it. It's actually pretty funny. So basically, they're just doing 50% off of Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile rate plans. So this only applies to people that are not currently Sprint customers. So if you're already a Sprint customer, you don't get these rates. It's only to new people. And basically, they're just taking whatever your Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile rate is, cutting it in half, and that includes the line access fee, and then giving that to you until I think all the way through 2018 or something. And they just announced a new sort of extended range LTE as well. And they'll give you $650 per line in an American Express reward card if you have, ETFs and stuff like that. So it's, I mean, in the end, whether or not it's a good deal, in the end, it's still Sprint's network. And so it's tough, I think, for anyone to want to run out and go sign up for this. But anyways, that was their big news.
It's huge. It's huge news.
In sort of related news, T-Mobile also announced some stuff actually the week before, which is they announced Binge On, which is a video streaming service where it doesn't count against your data plan, just like their Music Freedom. Is it Music Freedom? Yeah. So same thing. And then they also are doubling data on their Simple Choice plans, while they're also increasing prices on a couple of them, which they didn't really mention to anyone. So they announced that stuff. So T-Mobile's got new things. video watching and doesn't count with select services, doubling data on some plans, increasing prices on others. And then, yeah, Sprint's got 50% off deal. The carrier battles are on. Let's see. In other brief news, there is a new Google Plus. Also, on that note, we are not broadcasting through a Google Plus event, Hangouts on Air Google Plus event. We're actually doing it directly through our YouTube channel. And we're doing that because the new Google Plus basically killed Hangouts on Air functionality. So you kind of have to go through YouTube, at least for now. That's the only way we could figure it out. So that's why we're doing this. The new Google Plus is fine. It's just sort of a slim, trimmed down version of Google Plus. Basically, Google has been, I think it was TechCrunch almost 2 years ago now. Maybe it was just a year ago. And I think it was almost 2, where they said Google Plus is dead. They're going to start ripping out piece by piece and taking it apart. And Google shut that down and everyone threw a big fit. All the Google Plus users got really pissed off about it, I remember. And here we are today, and Google Plus relaunched basically this week. And it's been stripped down to nothing. It's basically Google Plus timeline and communities and collections. Photos is gone. The Hangouts piece of it is gone. It really is like completely stripped down. So
it's kind of sad. It's the death of the world's like 10th most popular social network. So
yeah, people use it. We still share all of our stories on there. I don't personally have enough time in a day to like hang out over there socially, but I know people use it, and we're obviously still going to share our stories over there because we do have people that read it over there. But yeah, it's kind of just been the slow death of, look, it's not dead, but they've totally changed it completely. It was supposed to be this robust, big social network, and now it's just sort of like, hey, let's share some cool things that we like about life type of thing. It's kind of what it is now.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else? LG launched the Watch Urbane 2nd Edition LTE last week on AT&T, and was supposed to launch, I believe, today on Verizon. And last night, in the last hour of the day, basically killed it. Like, they killed the thing. They didn't even say, yeah, it's probably going to come back soon. We just need to tweak some things. Like, they found a hardware issue, which they won't disclose what that is. And they've canceled the Watch Urbane 2nd Edition LTE. Number one, I'm so excited to never have to type Watch Urbane 2nd Edition LTE ever again. And number two, say it. But number three, it's just weird that like they've been selling this thing on AT&T for a week, and it was supposed to hit Verizon, and just it's gone, canceled completely. So you can't even buy it now. And if you did buy one, AT&T will swap it out and give you something else, like a Gear S2 or something,
or a refund,
or a refund. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty crazy. I mean, they sure did wait to the last possible second to pull the thing. I wish companies were a bit more transparent when it comes to things like this. You know, as consumers, I want to know like what the problem was. Clearly not a software thing. They definitely said it was a hardware related issue. I just, was it like killing people?
Like, was it going to blow up?
Yeah. Did it shock you when you put it on, or we connected it to LTE?
Well, it's a big deal too, because it's the first watch that had, or Android Wear watch with connectivity, LTE, right? Yeah. And it had LTE. And just this week, like, Google put out a big blog post that said, Android Wear now supports LTE and connectivity and all this. So you can make phone calls and speaker support and all this stuff. And this is the first watch with it. It's the first watch with Marshmallow, all this stuff. And then LG kills it last night. What a weird thing.
Kind of sad. Terrible name. Watch Urbane 2nd Edition LTE. Yeah, terrible. They just need to like rebrand or something.
It's time to rebrand. Do we know what urbane means?
Urban with an E, I guess. I don't.
Urbane, suave, courteous, and refined in matter. Manner. Okay, well, look at that. Learned something today. Yeah, the name sucks. When they first released the first Watch Urbane, I remember being like, this name has got to go. And now they've done it for about 3 different versions, and this one's just I mean, your product's name should not be 5 words long
for a watch.
My God. Yeah. So that's dead. In other LG news, the G5 got a rumor. What was the rumor? I haven't even looked into this that much.
The rumor straight out of Korea is that the G5 is going to feature an all-metal build. And LG being one of the last, major OEMs that has yet to incorporate metal in its entire design. Samsung's going all glass and metal. HTC's been all metal, and so really looking forward to it. A lot of people said that they wish that, say, like the G4 was more metal, but they did sort of shy away from the plastic on that. There were leather backs you could get for it, or you could just buy it with a leather back and get a plastic bag for it. But still, mostly plastic. I mean, even the leather itself, I'm pretty sure was plastic.
Pretty sure it was.
It was pretty crappy leather, dude.
It was so bad.
Yeah. But so the G5 Ultra Premium with the metal. And what else was there that I have for the LG rumor? I forget right. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't. Oh, they were saying that
they were their own payment system coming out, or
oh, right. I was going to talk about when they were going to announce it, but they're expecting like February, sort of around MWC time.
So they're moving up, because otherwise it was like May, right? The last couple of G devices.
Yep. And so by doing that, they are now pitting themselves directly against the possible launch of the Galaxy S7, which is supposed to happen in either late January or early February. So everyone's just moving up in the timeline. It's very odd. It's odd behavior. I think, I guess they just want to shake it up a little bit. But yeah, it's fine with me as long as
it just means
they
we're getting
work on that
closer
software
to bringing it back to CES.
Mm-hmm.
So that when we go to CES, we might actually have something worthwhile to talk about. That'd
be great. That'd be great.
2 years will be pushed so far back. CES will be relevant again. It's all cyclical.
Yep. I like it.
CES. Yeah. So G5 rumor. That's one of our first big G5 rumors.
I think I'm pretty sure it might be the first big one, at least. Yeah.
Let's see. In other short, quick news, Pushbullet, one of our favorite apps, they announced a pro version this week, which costs $5 a month subscription, or $40 a year, which is about $333 a month. And man, did they piss everyone off. Pushbullet, really good service. If you're not familiar with it, you can push files and URLs and information in between devices and your computers and all this stuff. It's also sort of a chat app, which is stupid. No one uses it to chat. They just use it to share files. You can use it for SMS syncing, so you can text people from like your computer and now your tablet, all through Pushbullet, and it's this really good service. And it's gotten better and better over the years. And they reached a 2-year anniversary and announced Pushbullet Pro. And people are pissed because they're taking away features that have been free for 2 years and now putting them under this Pro sort of shield. And so people are mad that they're taking stuff away. I don't really know what to say other than, like, number one, the company's got to make money. We've all been wondering, right? They've been free forever, and they've continued to add on new features and exist. So they need to make money. Is their pricing right? I'm not here to decide that. I only really use the free features, so it doesn't bother me. I'm just going to keep using the free stuff. But I know a lot of people are mad that the texting, you only get 100 if you do the free version, and the pro version is unlimited. And then there's also universal copy and paste. Those were kind of like the two things I saw people complaining about the most that are now pro features. So, they ran an AMA today on Reddit because they clearly heard the cries from people who were mad. And look, rightfully so. You can be mad. You had a service that was free for 2 years, and now all of a sudden someone wants you to start paying for it. I totally get why people would be pissed. But I also get why these people are doing it, because they need to make money. Like, in order for Pushbullet to succeed and be alive still, like, they have to make money at some point. So I don't know what the right option is. I know I've seen some people say, like, just charge $1 a month, or just let me pay $10 one time. And it's just not that simple, I don't think so.
Yeah, well, the developer is using a Reddit Ask Me Anything to sort of talk to the people that he pissed off and try and see if they can work out some type of middle ground.
Yeah, they've been talking today. I think he went individually on, his name's Ryan, by the way. He went individually on by himself on Reddit to answer some questions, and then came back as like, we're Pushbullet, we're here to answer your questions. Like, they've done like 2 today, I think. Yeah.
He's trying. I mean, he has such a good application. It's a great service. I know when we first discovered it years ago that a lot of people fell in love with it. And now, I'm sure he doesn't want people hating him or hating the service. So I'm sure.
Yeah, no, they still need to make money and survive.
Yeah. So
like, we all kept thinking like Google would buy them. Never did happen, but
very odd. Yeah, I would have thought that would have happened a long time ago.
I would have thought for sure somebody would have bought them by now. Like the technology, the app, just the service, I guess I should say, is really, really cool. And I'm just surprised like Microsoft didn't buy them or something like that. or Google, they seem to buy like really odd companies that I don't ever understand, and then they sort of figure things in back end. This seems like a established company like Microsoft would be like, no, we're going to buy them and we're going to include this in Outlook. It pissed me off.
Maybe he was just holding out for a higher price that never came, and who knows?
Maybe
But
they
yeah,
still could sell. You never know.
sure.
What they'll do is they'll get enough paid people and show that they have earnings, and then somebody will somebody will buy them.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Let's see. All right, another super quick news. Huawei introduced new battery technology like a week or two ago where you can charge a battery in 5 minutes. Yeah. So they had this 3,000 milliamp hour battery. This was so long ago, I forgot all the details. They showed off this at this battery symposium. Did you know that there's battery symposiums in Japan? So at this battery symposium, they had 2 lithium-ion batteries. One was a 600 milliamp hour battery, so we don't really care about that. Well, that could go in a smartwatch, I guess. And a 3,000 milliamp hour battery. And this 600 milliamp hour battery, they charged to 68% in 2 minutes. And the 3,000 milliamp hour battery, they charged to 48% in 5 minutes. And so this isn't like a quick charge. This is like a battery they've created that's able to be quick charged. And so I would imagine like their next phone is going to have this thing in there, which is awesome. Think about that. 5 minutes. Like quick charge is awesome enough as it is, like 15 minutes, you can get 8 hours of battery life or whatever, but we're talking 50% in 5 minutes. That's cool.
That's legit.
Yeah. All right. 2 apps real quick. YouTube Music launched, number 1, and then Apple Music launched. Have you used either of them?
No. I used Apple Music on launch day for 5 minutes. I remember that you can't stream Beatles music still, and so I just didn't open it. And then Apple reminded me, or Google reminded me that I had an update for it, so I uninstalled it at that point.
Update reminder, you just uninstalled.
Yeah.
I haven't installed either. I don't know why we need another YouTube app, number 1. I keep saying number 1 and number 2. I have like lists of things in my mind today. It's so weird. YouTube Music, I just don't understand why it exists. We have so many YouTube apps, we just don't really need another one.
Yeah, they keep breaking it down into smaller and smaller pieces. Even when the YouTube app that does all of it, it's still there and totally usable. I don't get it.
It doesn't make much sense. And then Apple Music, I did the free trial when they first launched it, so I don't think I can do another free trial now that it's on Android. And I didn't like the service anyway, so I just can't imagine wanting to use it. I'm just waiting for Google to give us their family plan. That's all.
Yeah, I saw some crazy people on Twitter saying that the UI was really good and like it was a better music app than some of the Android like native music apps. And I was like, what, dude? Like it didn't seem like all that good to me. I mean, it looked like they were trying to make an iOS app for Android. And it just, to me, it didn't seem all that good or native or anything like that. There's like maybe like the pull out menu or like nav drawer was the only thing that was like native Android. But some people said that the developers, the Apple's in-house developers, did a really good job at making it. And I just said no. Like,
do we know if it was in-house people? Because remember when they did their transfer to Android app and it was totally a third-party app?
Yeah, I don't know.
This one was actually in-house or not.
I thought there were reports going around not too long ago that Apple was looking to hire Android developers to make these things. So
yeah, that's right, they were.
Yeah, so who knows? I don't know if anyone really cares. I mean, it's good, but why are you going to use Apple Music? Unless you were already on iOS and came to Android, then I don't see a need for you to get Apple Music because Google Music, I think, delivers a much more like refined experience for Android than Apple Music would.
I think they're targeting the stepchild that has stuck with a Samsung phone when everyone else in the family has an iPhone, and so they have like the Apple Music family plan, and the little stepchild that gets slapped around has the crappy Samsung phone,
like the Cricket wireless phone.
Yeah, they have the Cricket wireless like base model Samsung Galaxy A2 or whatever it's called, and like, poor kid.
Yeah, poor guy. He's always getting picked on. But yeah.
All
wow,
right.
we got through a lot in an hour and 20 minutes. Pretty good.
Anything else you want to talk about?
Thanksgiving's coming up.
Yeah, so Thanksgiving next week. I'm guessing we're not going to have a show next week because otherwise it would be on Wednesday, and there's just nothing's going to happen. I don't really want to have a Black Friday special where we just talk about deals. Yeah, so next week, just so you guys know, around the site, it's probably going to be slow. That's not our fault. There's just probably nothing going on. So we'll try to make it entertaining. And look, Black Friday is coming up, and I know a lot of you are looking for deals, so we probably will be sharing quite a few deals as they pop up. We'll try not to like completely bombard you and offend you with deals, but if there's a good deal out there, we'll let you know.
Yeah, we like deals too, dang it.
Yeah, I know. I need to start coming up with a list of presents for people. See if I need to take advantage of some of these deals.
Damn right.
So otherwise, probably no show next week, but then we're closing in on 100. So
it's going to be epic.
Yeah. I mean, before the end of 2015, we will hit 100. We have like 6 weeks worth of chances, I think, to get there. So
we might hit 100.
We might hit 100.
We will for sure. We got time.
Yeah, we will for sure. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, thanks for joining us. It's episode 98 Droid Life Show. We're out. Peace.
Bye-bye.